After being rescued by her father's motorcycle club from bullies in the park, Sarah must now face a more difficult challenge as her carefully constructed facade of independence crumbles when they discover the desperate living conditions she's been hiding. What happens when a woman who's been fighting to prove she can stand alone realizes the true price her pride has been costing her child? The evening sky turned orange and purple as Sarah's father parked his big black motorcycle next to her old rusty car. The loud rumble of engines filled the air as more bikes pulled up behind them. These were the same people who had just saved her from those mean men at the park. Now they were here, at her apartment building with its peeling paint and broken steps. Sarah held her sleeping baby close, trying not to show how scared she felt. Not scared of danger anymore, but scared they would see how she really lived. "Third floor," she said softly, not meeting her father's eyes. Her arms ached from holding the baby so tight. The weight of his small body was both heavy and comforting. For months, he had been her whole world, the reason she got up each morning, the reason she worked 2 jobs and still barely had enough. Uncle Tommy held the door as they climbed the stairs. The smell of old cooking and someone's cigarette smoke hung in the hallway. One light flickered overhead, making shadows dance on the dirty walls. Sarah felt her face grow hot with shame. This was not the life she had wanted her father to see. This was the life she had been hiding in her weekly phone calls when she said everything was fine. Her tiny apartment door stuck when she pushed it open. Inside, the space felt even smaller with her father's large frame filling the doorway. One room with a mattress on the floor, a crib made from a box with blankets, clothes in piles because she had no dresser, dishes stacked in the sink because the water had been shut off again yesterday. "This is it," she said, trying to sound normal. "Home sweet home." Her father said nothing as he looked around. His face, usually so easy to read, now showed nothing. But his eyes missed nothing. Not the past due bills on the counter, or the empty fridge with just 1 bottle of milk, or the bucket catching water from the leaky ceiling. Maria, who had known Sarah since she was little, quietly stepped around them and began picking up baby clothes from the floor. Big Joe stood in the small kitchen, opening and closing empty cupboards. No one said anything, but Sarah could feel their worry filling the room like a heavy blanket. "The baby sleeps here," Sarah explained, placing her son in his makeshift bed. His little fingers curled around the edge of his blanket, his breathing deep and peaceful. At least he didn't know they were poor. At least to him, this was just home. Her father knelt beside the sleeping baby, his leather vest creaking as he moved. His hand, rough from years of working on bikes, looked huge next to the baby's small head. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. Sarah's throat felt tight. The question hung in the air between them. All these months of pretending, of saying she was fine on the phone, of making excuses why he couldn't visit, of being too proud to ask for help. It all crashed down around her now. "I wanted to show you I could do it alone," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "I wanted to prove I wasn't a mistake, that keeping him wasn't a mistake." Her father turned to her, his face now showing all the worry he had been hiding. "Baby girl," he said, "being alone isn't the same as being strong." Outside, the motorcycles sat silent in the fading light, their chrome parts catching the last rays of sun. Tomorrow would come, and with it, choices Sarah wasn't ready to make. Sarah woke the next morning to strange sounds, the coffee pot bubbling, soft voices talking, tools clinking against metal outside. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then she remembered. Her father and the others had stayed. She found Uncle Tommy under her car in the parking lot, fixing something that made loud, grinding noises. Maria was in the kitchen, putting food in the empty cupboards, and her father sat at her small table, looking at papers with a deep frown on his face. "Your rent is too high," he said without looking up, "and they're breaking the law by not fixing your ceiling." His finger tapped on a paper that had red marks all over it. Sarah wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him she could handle it. But then her baby crawled across the floor, making happy babbling sounds as he moved toward his grandfather. Her father's face softened as he picked up the little boy, holding him with hands that had once seemed so scary to others, but had always been gentle with her. "Your car needs more than just oil," Uncle Tommy said, coming inside with black grease on his hands. "The brakes are almost gone. You could have crashed." Sarah's stomach felt tight. She had known about the brakes. She had been saving up, $1 at a time, but then the baby got sick, and the medicine cost everything she had. "I was going to fix it," she said, her voice sounding small even to her own ears. "I just needed more time." Big Joe came from the bathroom, shaking his head. "The ceiling's going to fall in if that leak isn't fixed. Your landlord should be in jail for renting this place." Sarah felt tears pushing against her eyes. She had called the landlord 5 times. He always said he would come, but he never did. Last winter, the heat stopped working for 3 days. She and the baby had slept in all their clothes, wrapped in every blanket they owned. "I've been trying," she whispered. "I work at the store during the day and take online calls at night. But after rent and the baby's things, there's just never enough left." Her father looked at her across the table, his eyes seeing too much. "Why didn't you call me when things got this bad?" The question brought back memories that made Sarah's chest hurt. Her mother leaving when she was 8, saying she couldn't handle being a biker's wife anymore. The years of watching her father raise her alone, never complaining, never asking for help. How he taught her to be strong, to stand on her own 2 feet. "You didn't ask for help when Mom left," she said. "You did it all yourself." Her father's laugh had no joy in it. "Is that what you think? That I did it alone?" He shook his head slowly. "Baby girl, the club was there every step. Maria watched you when I had to work late. Tommy taught you to ride a bike when I couldn't. Joe made sure we had food when money got tight." Sarah looked around at these people who had always been there, these people she had pushed away when she got pregnant because she wanted to prove she was as strong as her father. "I wanted you to be proud of me," she said, her voice breaking. "I wanted to show you I could be like you." Her father reached across the table and took her hand in his. His palm was rough, warm, and so familiar it made her want to cry. "I've always been proud of you," he said, "but strength isn't about carrying everything alone until you break. It's about knowing when to let your family help carry the load." 3 days passed in a blur. Sarah went to work while Maria watched the baby. Each time she came home, something else had been fixed. The leaky ceiling, the broken stove, the door that wouldn't lock right. But on the 3rd day, she returned to find something that made her stop in her tracks. The parking lot was full of motorcycles and big trucks. People in leather vests moved in and out of her apartment, carrying boxes and furniture. Her father stood in the middle of it all, giving directions like a traffic cop. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, her heart beating fast. The baby was in Uncle Tommy's arms, laughing as the big man made funny faces at him. "We're moving you," her father said simply. "That place isn't safe, and the landlord won't fix it right." Sarah felt her face get hot. Anger and fear mixed inside her like a storm. "You can't just decide that. It's my home. My life." Her voice got louder with each word. Her father didn't get mad back. He just waited until she finished. "The club owns a house near the garage, 3 bedrooms, yard for the baby to play in, walking distance to Happy Tots daycare where Maria's daughter works." "I can't afford a house," Sarah said, crossing her arms. "You'll pay what you can," he said. "Work part-time doing the books at the garage like you used to. We'll all help with the baby so you can get some sleep for once." The thought of sleep, real deep sleep without worrying about bills or the baby or strange noises in the night, made Sarah's eyes fill with tears. "And if I say no?" she asked, even though part of her was already hoping she wouldn't have to. "Then you say no," he answered. "And we respect that. But first, come see what saying yes looks like." The ride to the house took 5 minutes. It wasn't big or fancy, but it had a porch with steps that didn't wobble. Inside, the floors were clean. The walls were freshly painted in soft colors. The kitchen had counters with no cracks and a fridge that hummed quietly. "There's a room for you, one for the baby, and one for an office or guest room," her father explained as they walked through. "Heating works, no leaks, safe neighborhood." In the baby's room, Sarah found a beautiful wooden crib. Her hand touched it lightly, feeling something familiar in the smooth wood. "Is this the one I made for you?" her father finished. "I fixed it up." In the living room, Uncle Tommy hung a picture on the wall. It was Sarah and the baby at the park, smiling on a sunny day. Seeing it there, in this house that wasn't hers but could be, broke something open inside her. "This isn't taking your independence," her father said softly. "This is giving your son the family he deserves. The same one that raised you." Outside, neighbors came to see what was happening. Instead of looking scared of the bikers like people usually did, they waved and smiled. An older woman brought cookies. A family with kids asked if the baby could play with them sometime. "They know us here," Maria explained. "The club does the Christmas toy drive, fixes bikes for free, helps when the creek floods. These people don't see monsters when they look at us." Sarah watched her son being passed from one leather-clad person to another, each one talking to him softly, each one looking at him like he was precious. These were the same people who had come roaring into the park to save them. The same people she had been too proud to ask for help. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered to her father, even as her heart was already making room for the possibility. He squeezed her shoulder gently. "You've been doing the hard thing for months. Maybe it's time to try the easier way." That evening, as the sun painted the sky with streaks of pink and gold, Sarah sat on the porch of her new home. The wooden steps felt solid beneath her. No wobbling, no missing boards, just strength and safety. Her baby boy crawled through real grass in the yard, his little hands grabbing at dandelions while Big Joe watched over him. The big man, who looked so tough, was making silly faces, and her son's laughter bubbled up like music. "He's never had a yard before," Sarah said softly. Her father sat beside her, his leather vest catching the last light of day. "He's never had space to just be a baby. Kids need room to grow," her father nodded. "Just like their mothers." Maria came out with cups of hot tea, the steam rising in the cool evening air. The smell was sweet and familiar, the same tea her father had made when she was sick as a little girl. Sarah wrapped her hands around the warm cup, letting memories wash over her. "I wanted to prove I didn't need anyone," she admitted, her voice barely louder than the crickets starting to sing in the grass. "I thought that's what you taught me." Her father's arm came around her shoulders, strong and steady, like it had been at the park when those men hurt her. The point was never about needing Sarah. It was about belonging. As darkness fell, neighbors walked by. A man with a dog waved. A woman pushing a stroller stopped to ask about the baby. Children rode bikes in the street, calling hello without any fear of the motorcycles parked in the driveway. "They're not afraid of you," Sarah said, surprised. Uncle Tommy laughed from where he sat, cleaning bike parts on a cloth. "We've been part of this neighborhood for years. We're just people to them." Inside, the house was becoming home. Maria had hung curtains in the windows. The fridge hummed with actual food inside. The baby's toys had a basket to live in instead of being scattered on the floor. And there was a real bed for Sarah, not just a mattress on the ground. Later, after the baby was asleep in his grandfather's handmade crib, Sarah stood in the doorway watching him. His tiny chest rose and fell with peaceful breaths. No more strange noises to wake him. No more cold nights or hot days without good air. Just safety. Her father appeared beside her, his red bandana now hanging loose around his neck. In the soft light from the hall, she could see the lines on his face, the gray in his beard, the years of worry he had carried while raising her alone. Or not alone, as she now understood. "Thank you," she whispered, the words feeling too small for all they needed to hold. He smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. "That's what family does, baby girl." Outside, a motorcycle started up, its familiar rumble floating through the open window like a lullaby. As a child, that sound had meant her father leaving. Now it meant protection, safety, home. Sarah's fingers touched the smooth wood of the crib rail, remembering herself as a little girl sleeping in this same bed, surrounded by the same love she had fought so hard to push away. "I was so afraid of being weak," she said. "Of being a burden." Her father shook his head slowly. "Loving people is never a burden, Sarah. It's the only thing that matters in the end." The baby's tiny fingers curled around the edge of his blanket in sleep, holding on with the simple trust of a child who felt safe. And for the first time in months, Sarah felt herself truly breathe, not the shallow, worried breaths of someone just surviving, but the deep, certain breaths of someone finally coming home.